3 different women, 3 wombs that remain silent, 3 prayers that seemed unanswered. They waited through shame, sorrow, and the sting of silence. They watched others rejoice while their arms remained empty, and just when hope seemed lost, God moved. This is not just their story, it's a reminder that even in the longest seasons of waiting, God is never late, He is faithful, even in delay. 1. Sarah, the promise that seemed impossible. Sarah was the wife of Abraham, known as the mother of nations, but for decades she had no child. She endured the pain of waiting, the shame of barrenness and her culture, and the confusion of a promise that hadn't come true. God had told Abraham, "I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars," but years went by and nothing changed. Sarah eventually gave up hope. At one point, she even laughed when God said she would still bear a child in her old age. But in Genesis 21, something miraculous happened. Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah as He had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what He had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. Genesis 21:1-2. She named him Isaac, which means laughter, the very thing she once did in disbelief, now transformed into joy. Sometimes God's timing feels delayed, even impossible, but His promises never expire. Like Sarah, you may feel forgotten, but God's plans are still in motion. He hasn't forgotten you. 2. Hannah, the cry that touched heaven. Hannah lived with a heavy heart. She was married to Elkanah, who loved her dearly, but her barrenness was a constant source of sorrow, especially because Elkanah's other wife, Peninnah, had children and mocked her relentlessly. Year after year, Hannah wept, but one day she went to the temple and poured out her soul to God. Her prayer was raw and desperate. "O Lord Almighty, if you will only look upon your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life." 1 Samuel 1:11. The priest Eli thought she was drunk, but when he learned of her grief, he blessed her. In time, God answered her prayer. She gave birth to Samuel, who would grow to become a mighty prophet and the one who anointed Israel's first kings. Hannah teaches us that honest, broken prayers are not ignored. When you bring your pain to God, not hiding it, but laying it bare, He listens. He responds. Your tears are seeds of faith, not signs of weakness. 3. Elizabeth, a quiet miracle in the waiting years. Elizabeth and her husband Zechariah were both devout. They served God faithfully, but they had no children, and they were well beyond childbearing years. It was a silent sorrow they carried, faithful in public, yet burdened in private. But one day, while Zechariah was serving in the temple, the angel Gabriel appeared to him and said, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to call him John." Luke 1:13. This child would grow up to become John the Baptist, the one who would prepare the way for Jesus. Elizabeth, in awe of God's mercy, declared, "The Lord has done this for me. In these days He has shown His favor and taken away my disgrace among the people." Luke 1:25. Elizabeth shows us that it's never too late for God to move. Even when the world says it's over, even when you stop praying, God is still working behind the scenes. Your delay is not your denial. Childlessness is just one form of waiting. But many of us are waiting for something, a breakthrough. In every one of these stories, we see the same pattern: long waiting, deep pain, and a God who never forgot, a God who answered in His perfect time. So hold on, your story is not over. God is still writing.